Now, the government has reportedly declined a request by South African President Cyril Ramaphosa for a state visit to Ghana amid concerns over recent xenophobic attacks targeting Ghanaian nationals and other African migrants in South Africa. The decision follows the repatriation of hundreds of Ghanaians affected by the attacks, with concerns raised over the safety and dignity of Ghanaian citizens abroad. The development comes as tensions remain high over anti-foreigner sentiment in parts of South Africa, with calls for authorities there to take stronger measures to protect migrants. And we'll shortly be speaking to our Foreign Affairs correspondent Martin Esiedudate, who actually joins us live on the line now. Martin, what have you gathered so far about reports that Ghana has declined a request by President Cyril Ramaphosa to visit the country, really, and if you know the reasons being cited for this decision?
Yes, good afternoon to listeners. So information we are gathering indicates that, yes, the South African government, through the president, had wanted a state visit in the first week of August. That is next month. But our sources tell us that the government of Ghana has declined that that request by the South African government, and it is primarily on the reasons of the xenophobic incidents happening in South Africa. You would know that in the very early days of the resurgence of these xenophobic issues, Ghana quickly mobilized resources to move its citizens out of harm's way in South Africa. On the back of that, Ghana also reported South Africa to the African Union Commission, asking that some stringent measures be taken by the mother body, that is the AU, to force South Africa or coerce South Africa to take some strong actions against the xenophobic attacks. And since nothing concrete was coming from or was being seen to be done by the South African government, Ghana quickly moved almost 1,000 of its citizens from South Africa. Our information indicates that about 900 more Ghanaians have registered to leave South Africa. A Ghanaian has died, and that was confirmed by the Ghanaian High Commission. One Bashiru Isaac, a 40-year-old Ghanaian, we are told, died as a result of the xenophobic attack. So Ghana strongly just wants to push the point that you are not able to take care of our citizens. We've taken steps to repatriate them voluntarily from South Africa, and they believe that the problem is if we allow the president of South Africa to come into the country, there's going to be some emotional outburst by Ghanaians who feel their citizens are not being properly treated in South Africa, for which reason they have declined that request for now, because they fear there could be anger in the country. That's what we know for now.
Indeed. Very briefly, Martin, before you leave us, I know that you mentioned how many more Ghanaians are willing to come back to the country, but do we know of their security situation now?
Well, as of the last time we checked from our sources in South Africa, we are told that the demonstrations have died down to some extent, but there are still threats that these demonstrations could happen again. And just maybe a last point of note, last month, a number of envoys who are diplomats representing about 7 countries presented their letters of credence to President John Mahama. But the Ghanaian government declined the envoy from South Africa, who was also there to present his or her letter, and all because of this xenophobic issue. So security has been heightened, caution has been given to the Ghanaians in South Africa to stay safe until the situation normalizes, while our authorities there also work to ensure that the safety of Ghanaians remain a priority.
Thank you very much, Martin Esiedudate. He is a Foreign Affairs correspondent. Let's also bring in Dr. Elvis Banwe Muleng Bota, a lecturer at UPSA Center for Peace and Security Research with expertise in international affairs, diplomacy, and global security. Good afternoon to you, Doc. I hope I got your name correctly. Thank you for joining us.
Yes, I was going to commend you highly for getting it, especially my middle name. Good afternoon. Hope you're fine.
Yes, I'm doing wonderful. Thank you so much once again for joining us. Now, Ghana has reportedly declined a request for a state visit by Cyril Ramaphosa, the South African president. And you heard our Foreign Affairs correspondent confirming that for us. What diplomatic message could such a decision send to South Africa and really the wider international community?
Okay, so that's a beautiful question to ask, and I extend, my greetings to the listening public. Yes, indeed, we all know the history behind all of these tensions diplomatically between Ghana and South Africa. And I must say that it's not an issue solely between Ghana and South Africa. Is actually, it has become an African continental problem. And so it's as though South Africa is doing this to citizens of almost every other African country. Now, trickling it down to the issue of denial of entry of Ramaphosa allegedly into the Republic of Ghana, it is not diplomatically wrong. In fact, it is one of the most persuasive diplomatic positions Ghana can take without necessarily creating tensions in its diplomatic or foreign relations with South Africa. The implications are that we must balance sovereignty, territorial integrity with foreign policy, which is our diplomatic relations out there. The issue here is that both Ghana and South Africa are major diplomatic pillars of the African Union. Number two, there is a very strong economic relations between Ghana and South Africa, ranging from bilateral, international treaties or bilateral investment treaties, etc. Now, this is where we have to be very careful. And so, what do we do? Because if we outrightly, and I just want to draw the attention to the media on two things. If we proceed to deny His Excellency Cyril Ramaphosa entry into Ghana, it is good. It is defensible diplomatically, but that should not be equated to barring him from entering Ghana. The two are not the same. If we bar him from entering Ghana, that comes with some permanency, and that will totally collapse the diplomatic relations we have, and that will outrightly escalate economic and other tensions, of which Ghana may actually eventually suffer a detriment. Given the kind of investment South Africa have here, and our business interests in South Africa.
You've just answered my next question partially. So you do not expect this to strain the bilateral relations between Ghana and South Africa?
Yes, I do not expect it to. In fact, we must avoid that completely. So what then we have to do is to, like I said, deny him entry. That comes with some permanence. And what it does is that it only postpones the visit until such time and on such terms that South Africa will be able to give, one, credible assurances to the Ghanaian government. Number two, investigate a killing. You made mention to the killing of a Ghanaian. That killing has to be investigated and an appropriate report filed to our foreign ministry. Then, assurances in respect of protection of Ghanaian businesses and Ghanaian personnel who are still in South Africa. And of course, that will also offer remedies where state failure has been established. In circumstances, the investigatory report reveals that South Africa has failed as a state to have, complied with the essential provisions of international law and consular relations. We can hold them reprehensible for some remedies. So, yes, diplomatically and legally, Ghana has got basis on sovereign equality. We are not mandated to let any president whatsoever enter our country. It doesn't matter. But most importantly, is even the issue that, look, under the Vienna Conventions on Diplomatic Relations, Article 9 gives Ghana the leverage to deny or outrightly bar. But the most sensible option for us as a state, in order not to look vindictive, but still standing firm on our territoriality and its integrity, is to deny him so that we can have an avenue to register our displeasure while still keeping our economic, political, and other relations intact.
And perhaps my last question before you go, this is where we are now, but beyond here, what steps should Ghana and South Africa now take to prevent this issue from escalating into a broader diplomatic dispute that you're concerned about?
Yes, I think that that is a very serious one, because the manifestations so far could end up leading into a diplomatic and security escalation. So the way forward is in fact, Ghana has done well. I think there's been a very lukewarm attitude from South Africa from the angle of its state, all right, in dealing with this xenophobia violence more generally. But in all my analysis in both Ghanaian and foreign media, I've always maintained that we must have some patience for South Africa, considering that what is happening is hate violence. And hate violence is a psychological issue. Now, the aftermath of apartheid is a trauma South Africa as a state and South Africans as a people have actually not healed from. Especially the expropriation of lands have left situations where indigenous black South Africans are controlling less than 30% of land. And that is about the major economic resource in South Africa. So then, the African Union must step in immediately. My advice is that Ghana should immediately formally, petition the African Union Commission, invoke the authority of the Commission as a supranational entity to step into dialogue, mediating between South Africa as a state and Ghana, and this will lead to an agreement which will be binding, and that will allow, or that will put some diplomatic pressure on South Africa to act. That is the way for us to go. For now, we should be restrained in any sanction or any non-renewal of any South African business interest in Ghana linked directly to this matter. If we do that, the reciprocal, adventure South Africa will take will not economically help Ghana.